Okay, we're doing it again. We are live, guys. I had a heck of a week already with Kalipa on Monday and Chan on Tuesday, and I thought I was going to just call it there. But I kind of have been rolling with every Tuesday and Friday doing this show. And after I had my interviews with those two guys, which were two of the most fun shows I've done, I got on a plane, flew from Hawaii to Phoenix, where we are running the Cactus Games, which is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, local competition in all of Arizona. So we are setting all that up for a 2-day event, teams tomorrow, individual Sunday. And I just decided we just finished setting it up after like going at it the last 7 hours, getting the gym ready. I decided I was going to do a show anyway. Normally I do them on Friday. The show must go on. So we're going to do a little show. I have some pretty funny throwback clips that I've had saved for quite some time. So we're going to get into that. Augustus, what is up, dude? Yes, kind of unexpected. I usually do this on Friday, but I didn't announce it ahead of time because, frankly, I didn't know how long it was going to take me to set up the entire gym with everybody. I didn't even know if it was going to be feasible to do a show, so I didn't want to get everyone's hopes up and then cancel. Not that many people give a shit, but I figured I wouldn't schedule something just in case it came up. But I'm pulling it off. I'm exhausted, but I have 5 little funny old CrossFit videos that we can watch. A couple I think you guys will get a nice kick out of. So without further ado, we'll dive into it. Thanks for tuning in for the couple of you guys that are here. Don't expect a huge turnout, but we'll do it for everybody who does show up. And then, of course, people get to watch this back later. So we'll do that. All right. Where do I want to start today? Do I want to go in deep with things or start nice and light? Let's start light. Let's start with some throwback WOD demo with good old Chris Spieler.
Row 500 meters and 7 thrusters of 135. I do, depending on the day and what I'm doing, I do a lot of mobility stuff. Today, my hips.
Spieler's at his gym in Park City. 5 rounds, 500-meter row, 7 thrusters, 135.95. I like this because he considers it a heavy thruster. I think this is back in like 2011, so I guess that kind of would have been heavier back in those days. But for Spieler, especially being a smaller athlete, it's definitely heavier weight.
I end up sticking to kind of a routine. Some days it's going to look different than others, just depending on how stiff I am.
He lives in a cold climate, so I remember living in Maine, how tough warming up was in the coldest time of the year.
How long before every workout do you warm up?
Some days literally like 5 minutes. Some days like today. Sorry, you were a while. Yeah, probably like, I don't know, it could be like upwards of 20 minutes.
So I guess a question I would ask you guys is 5 rounds, 500-meter row, 7 thrusters at 135 for the guys. Is that like an adequate dose of fitness these days for what people expect? Like, is that a good workout of the day, do you think? I have an opinion on it, but we're going to let Spieler start tearing into this. What do you guys think? Is that a good workout of the day? If you could just do one workout for your training that day, would you be satisfied with 5 rounds, 500-meter row, 7 thrusters at 135? I would be, personally. I'm a one and done type of guy. I think I like this workout with Spieler in particular because for him it truly is a challenging thruster weight. And if I break down this workout, obviously, if we were competing through this workout, a 500-meter row is significantly longer and more valuable in terms of how you have to pace that versus how long it will take you to do 7 unbroken thrusters, right? So it's the row in those terms are more valuable than the thruster, but it's cool because you can decide how you want to attack this. Also, real quick, I like how HQ back in the day would kind of break down in the middle of these workouts. He's given tips on the thruster now. This is still, back in the day where you would be kind of coaching the timing of the thruster, the core to extremity explosivity, if you will, of driving all the way up before the press. So anyway, back to how you'd pace this thing. So like you can decide to set a pace and kind of hang on to that pace no matter what happens at the thrusters, or you can decide you're going to do the thrusters unbroken at all costs. So you can rest more in your transition between the row and the thruster, or you could just I don't just go for the thruster and see what happens as fast as you can. But wait, your internet's crap or my internet's crap? It might be mine. The few of you guys that are watching, is the feed okay? Yeah, the intensity would be plenty for me too, Corbin. That's why I think this would be one and done, because I could make this hard enough. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm in Arizona now, so I'm not in my normal spot. I'm in the gym in Arizona. Thanks, guys. Thank you for confirming. So just making it happen in the back office of the gym as everyone has left for the day. So Spieler's trying to hold a 155. That's probably, and he's a smaller guy than me. That's probably exactly what I would try to hold on this. And then actually 135 would be a challenging thruster for me for 7, for sure, for 5 rounds. I'm just not that strong. So maybe I'm biased to this workout, even though it's 13 years old, just because it would be like the perfect balance for me. 1252 for 5 rounds. Yes, sir. I'm at Jump Ship Phoenix.
For 155. You know, the first round.
His dog's barking. That's a cool workout. I think if I was going to program something like that today, I think I could program it at like a 5-round, 500-meter row, 135 thruster. But if I was going to do it in the terms of like trying to give people the most bang for their buck, I would leave the thruster weight wide open, and I would make it 5 rounds, a 500-meter row, 7 unbroken thrusters, and then I would force the athlete to make a good decision in terms of what they need to work on. Would they rather just keep it light and keep the intensity of the entire workout fast, or do they want to make it sort of a mix of conditioning and weightlifting and really challenge themselves? I think it's a cool workout. Yeah, and for me, it would be a great one and done. I think for people who train, 2 or 3 pieces a day, it might be a good way to start your session, but it certainly wouldn't be enough for everybody. All right, let's mix it up a little bit. I thought this was cool. This was a quick video of Annie Thorisdottir. I think it's right after she won her first game. She won in 2011 and 2012. And then this is just her doing DT. I just thought that this was a really good representation. She's always been good with a bar, but this is a really good representation of like the intensity of DT and how well Annie would just like attack things. And you can tell just by the way she's dressed how much of a throwback this is. She's got the bounce going a little bit, just like the all-out deadlift, not super concerned about coming out in front of, too far in front of her body, doesn't care. It's light enough. Ladies weights 105 on DT, guys weights 155. I'm going to turn the volume down a bit. Those gym tunes bumping. But remember, this is 2011. So DT back in 2011 was not an automatic unbroken thing, even for high-level athletes. And so, not that she's hanging on, but she's doing each set unbroken as hard as she can. Like, this is a nasty workout. If you've never done DT RX and you try to cycle the barbell as fast as she's cycling it now, it's not even like a muscle fatigue thing. It's just straight up lungs. Like, the conditioning aspect of this is so terrible. Yeah, 155 DT, real DT is just like, I mean, I'm, again, not a strong guy, so it crushes me. I probably wouldn't even use 155, but unless you're like semifinals level or higher, DT is quite devastating. And even if you are good at semifinals, you can hang on to it. I think my wife not long ago did DT unbroken just to prove a point. Yeah, she in sandals, I think she grabbed sandals and did DT unbroken 105. Some of the stronger ladies can throw it around, but I think the 155 is harder for guys. Oh, the thruster. Yeah, that would be tough at 155. All right, we're not going to watch the whole thing. I just thought it was a cool throwback clip of Annie. She's always been a badass, and like this is how she's moving in 2011. And then, she would probably still be doing this and still could be doing this if she wasn't so busy having children these days. Just like her longevity in the sport and how good she's been for how long is just insane. All right, let's move on to some funny stuff. I got some stuff I uncovered that made me laugh. Very inappropriate things, guys, that CrossFit used to post. Where do I want to go with this? We'll save. I have a Rich Froning workout video. We'll save that for last. All right, let's go into some inappropriate stuff. Little Greg Glassman clip. I'm gonna turn up the volume so we can listen to Greg for 2 minutes.
On a what? I don't twit, but
If you had to define CrossFit
easy.
on Twitter.
Constantly varied high intensity functional movement. Tell me by what metric you would assess the size of that umbrella.
So the guy in the audience is challenging that the definition is too broad, basically.
I mean, it might be tough to wrap yourself around, but I don't see magnitude in the concept. Do you? I'm a math guy. Maybe that's my problem. Okay. Where's the magnitude in that descriptor? Yeah, what makes that big?
He thinks the definition is not narrow enough for CrossFit.
That's what I'd ask you. Of what? Variance? Functionality?
So Greg's basically making him
You're getting pretty non-science here now.
be more narrow about the question he's asking. He's just returning his
Listen,
question with a question.
I say, I've got a dick. You go, that sounds big. Who said anything about big? I don't see the magnitude yet in the...
And then he diffuses it with a dick joke.
Let's break it down smaller. Yeah, functional movement. We've uniquely defined it in that it is those movements that are categorically unique in their capacity to express power. All right, is that a big definition or a little one? I don't know how definitions. To me, definitions are consistent or inconsistent, are amenable to precise and accurate estimation or not. But I don't hear magnitude yet in it.
So this has always been a very interesting topic to me. So someone asked Greg if you were going to tweet something to define CrossFit, what would it be? And of course, Greg throws out the, functional movements at high intensity, constantly varied, that whole notion that we always use. So the problem is he says, okay, that's too big of an umbrella. That's too broad. Like, how can we define it more narrowly? And Greg says, basically, what's big about that? What makes that big? And then so you have to kind of break down, what each thing means. And so the question comes back to functional movements. What patterns do you consider functional? And then he says basically patterns that can express power. But even I would say that that's still pretty broad. And then you could ask things like, if you look at some of the stuff we use frequently that we're constantly asking questions about, like the handstand push-up, you're not expressing a ton of power out of a handstand push-up. And a lot of people would argue that many other movements are more functional than pressing your own body weight over your head. I get the argument on both sides, but it's interesting. This definition of CrossFit, constantly varied functional movement, high intensity, has always been interesting to me because the broad nature of each of those things, it is almost impossible to say that, that is not a perfect definition, because the broadness is inclusive enough that it creates argument in terms of functionality and what intensity is. Even high intensity is a broad statement. It's, what is considered high intensity versus moderate intensity or moderate to high intensity. And then that intensity definition changes based on the duration or the stimulus of the workout and things like that. So the definition has always been broad, but I think it's intentionally broad. And he's talking about, where's the magnitude of the definition, but that's the point. It's almost impossible to refute how they defined it because of how he's defined it. And I always thought that was interesting and probably intentional on Greg's part to make sure that there's really nothing you can go back and refute or say, oh, that doesn't make sense, or there's no point in that. It's kind of a perfect definition, which I always thought was really cool. And then of course Greg throwing in the magnitude of cock, like while being asked a serious question. Classic Greg. I thought that was funny. Okay, and speaking of that, let's stick on theme with one of the most interesting pull-ups you will ever see. And why we haven't seen this again, I don't know. This is hilarious. I'm going to play this whole thing out for you guys, full on volume.
No! 0!
What are you guys doing, Barber?
Cock to bar pull-ups.
Cock to bar pull-ups.
I'm gonna get 30 of this video and send it over to you.
Matt Barber, Graham Holmberg, John Gilson's in this video. Instead of chest to bar, can you touch the cock to the bar?
Clapping cock to bar.
I don't know how many of you guys are going to try this after seeing this video.
You're calling me out?
Calling you out.
Okay.
You probably should. You could turn this into a hell of a bar muscle up drill.
3, 2, 1, go!
John Gilson versus Pat Barber, 5 cock to bar pull-ups for time. This is the shit CrossFitters just did when they had free time on their hands.
Did you not touch? My God.
I mean, I'm sure that's mild compared to what most of you guys have done in terms of when you throw parties in your affiliates or whatever else. But this is just probably something that you wouldn't get the new CrossFit to post ever. You have back-to-back videos from a decade and a half ago. One with Greg throwing out the size of his dick in a after being asked a serious question in a seminar, and then another in a affiliate or in a garage or something. Coaches and athletes and leaders of the community doing cock to bar pull-ups. Like, that is like the old school, just throwback, gritty garage style CrossFit. There was no worry about being PC back then. It was just about throwing down, having fun. I just think that's funny. And I think that humor lives on with a lot of, I guess, you know, a lot of kind of guy humor, locker room humor or whatever. But like, it's funny. It's fun. That's just funny shit to do. And it's been a part of CrossFit culture for a long time. And, I just think people are a little bit sensitive these days. You don't see a lot of that stuff anymore, but I don't know. I just thought that was funny. And I thought you guys would appreciate the cock to bar pull up because I haven't heard of it again since. So, all right, let's keep this rolling, guys. I have a fun little video. Again, this is going to be a short show. I just wanted to do one here for fun, but this is one of my favorite, actually, old Rich Froning demo videos from back in the day. This is, I think, shortly after he won the games. He is in a black CrossFit t-shirt, which was the old seminar shirt. So this was back when he was actually on the seminar staff or whatever it was back then, going around doing the level 1s, things like that. I don't know if they still would just allow high-level games athletes to fill in on staff without going through a lot of the steps it took to get on seminar. I know it's not easy to become a seminar staff member, but I think it's cool how many of those guys, Froning, Kalipa, Chan, I had a lot of the earlier guys, Spieler for years and years. All these guys were on seminar for some of the time and traveled around and spread the good word of CrossFit, the guys that everyone looked up to. I think it's really important, and I wish it was happening more these days, but unfortunately, things have changed. So it's just Froning at a seminar, probably a lunchtime
front
WOD.
Squat, 5 sets of 1 back squat. You're supposed to increase the load every rep or every set, technically.
This is a main site WOD, overhead squat, 5 sets of 1. And then, each rep should be a little heavier. Then front squat, 5 set of 1. Again, you're supposed to be building off probably your heaviest overhead squat, which you'll hear in a minute. Rich has an issue with that because Rich's overhead position is godly. And then back squat, 5 sets of 1. So the goal would be to increase the load on each of the 15 sets, as it says here, but you'd have to be quite strategic with that, especially if you have the overhead squat position of Rich Froning.
I guess you got to figure out your back squat max and then go from there.
This is 2011, guys, so there just weren't that many people with these numbers in 2011. Also, I love the music. If you haven't noticed, I love to put classical music behind my videos.
Rack jerk 355. I just haven't done it in a while, so we'll see. Been taking time off with the back, so who knows?
What do you think about right before you go?
Like what lift? This lift?
Yeah, lunchtime WODs made some of the best CrossFit content that there was, or has ever been.
Tight. Make sure those hips go back. I have a problem with being a little quad dominant, and I get a little bit of knee pain. But
Froning with knee pain back in 2011.
Overhead squats a little. Just depends. Stay on the heels. When it gets heavier like that, I usually don't drop it on my back. But I guess I just kind of.
Froning's issue is his overhead squat and his front squat were almost the same weight for his 1 rep.
And overhead squat feels good, so I could keep going on the overhead squat. Except for my front squat is not as good as my overhead squat.
There you go.
It's about equal.
There you go.
So
I don't know anyone else that has that problem.
On my front squat, the full 5.
Maybe his legs just aren't as strong as they should be.
But we're gonna try. So I guess I'm just gonna cut the overhead squat a little bit short. We'll go 310. PR front squat's 335.
He's always had a great overhead squat, amazing snatch. Not even just for the time, but just forever. Even with some of the guys that lift today.
What mental keys are you giving yourself for front squats?
I'm trying to keep my elbows
Oh
up,
my
but,
God, Ernie, how's that
as
possible?
you're watching the tape, I don't keep my elbows up very well.
That's not the case for me.
I told you earlier,
You must have a great
my
overhead
elbows are a
position like
little
Froning
so
to be able
I've
to
been
balance
doing
the
a lot
weight
of
back
lately,
in your
so
center
a
like
lot of
that.
cleans.
What did your
And support
fiance
it.
have to say about your?
I have these, you get the bar rub, and she was like, "Those hickeys on your neck?" It's like, no, it's from the bar, but luckily I had 2 of them, so
Yeah, me too. Yeah, my front squat and overhead squat probably more than 45 kilo difference. I don't know what Froning's all-time squats were, but he certainly made the 325 front squat look heavy. I don't know what he ended up getting to all time. But he was a pretty strong guy.
missed 330.
It's Pat Sherwood in the red shirt.
I don't know.
So maybe he was like a
I'm trying
guest
330 again, but it's
for the
still bad.
seminar. Maybe they had red shirts in 2011 as far as the seminar staff goes. And maybe like the games athletes got the black shirts. But before they had the red shirts, they were all in black shirts. I bet Froning that day probably worked out before the seminar started. I bet he did his lunchtime lift here, and then I bet he did at least one Metcon after the seminar. He was the first high volume CrossFitter ever. He invented the high volume CrossFit training for sport.
Core tight. Use those hamstrings, drive it up.
Yeah, that'd have been like what, 3 seasons ago when they did that in quarters. 21 maybe. Yeah, he probably. I'd have to go back and look, but yeah, probably. That's not too bad. It's probably, if your overhead squat's non-existent, it's probably just a position thing. It's probably not the fact that you may be lacking strength because you're lacking the position to kind of turn things on, get the weight centered.
Going for it to tie it.
It's kind of my problem too. My shoulders are terrible. This is just a great workout demo video. It's so peaceful. Maybe lame, but it's just fun to watch Rich lift whenever possible. Oops. But yeah, so that's really all I had lined up for you guys today. I know it's a short show, but like I said, I just wanted to do something. I want to do something. To be honest, the show is more about me today than you. These shows are some of the glue for my sanity. I like to get on here. It helps me just watch old stuff, takes my mind off of all the workload, all the competing my athletes have been going through the last few months. And I love coming on here and talking to you guys in the live chat. So whenever I have an opportunity to do a show, I'm not gonna skip it because it's so much fun. Next week I have Adam Knifer from CrossFit Fort Vancouver coming on Tuesday. I get back from my trip back to Hawaii Monday morning, back to Oahu, day to screw my head on straight, and then Tuesday morning back to closer to my normal times. I don't know what that even means these days, but I'm going to arrange with Adam. Adam will be on. I think I'm going to make Adam take me back through old team events. I've never touched on team stuff on the show because I'm not a huge fan of what the team has become in the sport. So I really don't get into it, but back in the day, there was some pretty cool team stuff. I've been watching. You mean semis instead of quarters, or I assume you mean semis? I did. I watched. I didn't watch any of the stream. I just watched Savan show, and they talked about some of the scores. I did watch some of the highlights. I went in the leaderboard and looked. I'm just gathering info because I have at least one athlete that I coach, Jordan Chefs. She'll be going to North America East. She was one spot out of qualifying last year for the games. So obviously she's legit. And so I'm trying to gather some information for her and just have an idea of kind of where she needs to be in different places according to women elsewhere. The problem is event one's not going to be consistent because of how crazy those running paths are. There's going to be different distances and different turns and things, which will make it challenging to exactly lock down a pace for her. That may be why they did it that way too, on top of it's boring to watch runners, like on air runners. But yeah, I'll be paying close attention just to see kind of what the scores are, what to expect, because we have all the time in the world to test things out with her. She's legit. She's if she's fully healthy, she's got a great shot to qualify even out of that region, which is just ridiculously stacked. So yeah, I've been watching a little bit. It's cool. Yeah, very, very little data so far with one event. Event 2 isn't going to be consistent. Yeah. Wait, maybe you guys can help me on that. Maybe you can help me on that. Asymmetric gears, what's up? It's all right. Not your fault. It's my fault. I just planned this 15 minutes before and then jumped on. Okay, guys, help me with event 2 here. So I saw that they were not doing they were doing 13 rope climbs instead of 14 rope climbs. I didn't hear why. I just saw that was confirmed. That's going to be the case out in Europe, I believe. Is that not the case everywhere? Are they just changing it for Europe because of a certain circumstance with the way it's set up, or is that the new workout? Is that the new standard for the workout everywhere? Do you guys know that? Because if everyone does 13, obviously that's not a problem. Then I can still do that. And honestly, like for me, again, I'm really only focused on one athlete for individual semis, and that's Jordan. And she is a legless rope climb crusher. So that's a really great event for her. Haven't heard any reason why or anything about being uniform across the semis. Yeah, I guess we'll find out tomorrow, huh? When they actually do it. Maybe it's just the way the flow works. I don't really get it. Maybe they're probably running away from the rope down the floor to the other object, whether it's the box or the bike. So maybe they are not having them run to the rope and then back to the finish line. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So it's kind of a mystery still. So all we know is what was leaked from the brief over there, basically, which is that they're only doing 13. I imagine it's just a flow thing, the way they want the workout to flow. I don't know why. I don't know why they would write it that way. I guess it's just easier to write it in the format they did and then tell you later not to run to the rope for the last rep. We'll see. I don't think it makes a big difference. I think it comes down to how you pace the first, for some girls, 6 to 8 or 9 climbs. Obviously, like the box jump and bike matter to a degree, but I think it matters a hell of a lot more in the guys' events when guys can like fly up the rope, and 10 to 14 rope climbs legless is not a huge deal for those upper body pulling monsters. But some of the women, obviously don't have the same upper body abilities as men. It's just the way it is. So those implements matter less. It's more about the rope climbs. I should have put the bike near the finish and the rig in the middle of the floor and the box in there. Yeah, that'd be sick. But then I would imagine they probably need the rig on one end of the floor, like always for other events. I can't think of why. Maybe they don't want, I don't know, probably for the muscle ups at the end. But yeah, it'd be cool to see a different setup for semis. If they just like changed the whole floor and made it look completely different, it would make it interesting, make it memorable. Yeah, finish furthest away in the box, hit the rope. Yeah, that would be cool. But anyway, anything else you guys want to chat about before I leave you until next week? Like I said, Tuesday I'll have Adam on. I'm sure we'll talk team stuff, throwback team stuff, and then we'll probably chat about the first weekend of semis. I'm sure he has some thoughts as he's Justin Medeiros' coach. If you don't know who Adam Knifer is, he's it's CrossFit for Vancouver, they just celebrated their 15-year affiliate benchmark. Kind of crazy to have a gym for 15 years. Yeah, in my opinion, if I was ranking the all-time CrossFit Games coaches, from what I know about all the coaches, he'd be number 1 on my list. Top all-time CrossFit Games coach. The way he developed his teams over the years, what he was able to do for individuals that came to work with him, and just his attitude and the way he carries himself. I would put him number 1 above everybody. So I'm excited to have him on the show. We'll talk more when he gets on. Okay, guys. Yeah, awesome. Just got to the gym. Hit it hard, Augustus. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys jumping on with short notice. It does really make my day. So it was a lot of fun. We'll see you guys. Is Hinshaw a coach? Hinshaw's a coach. Yeah, I think Adam's much better than Hinshaw for CrossFit. Hinshaw's a specialty coach. Okay, with that, I will see you guys next week. All right, bye.